do whatever the Hyundai you want.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose.
Hey, this is Kenny Rose, and you're listening to
The Fuel Pod.
This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unabashed, and
Ooh, we're going crazy.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 52, The Wall. And of course, we don't have licensing rights to Pink Floyd, but that's also not the complete purpose of the name, as we will get to in this show. Chad, don't we have a guest joining us tonight at some point?
He's going to be on in a little bit. He was finishing up mowing his yard. So he said as soon as he's done, he's going to pop up on here.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. Okay.
Hey,
Is he got a zero turn or is he hand mowing?
I don't know. Probably. I'm surprised he doesn't have his kids mowing. So I know this is a racing podcast, but I have found that I like talking about other stuff.
Let's do it.
And I want you to know that today I walked into Walmart and I was walking through the Coke aisle, and I did not realize that they made Big Red Zero Sugar. And let me tell you, did you know they make Big Red Zero Sugar?
Oh, dear God.
Okay, I had no idea. So when I was about, let's go with 7, 8, 9, 10, we would go pick up my brother. I'd sit in the front seat. My mom would pick me up, and then my brother would have basketball practice afterwards, and we would stop. We usually picked up him and his buddy, and I'm sitting in the front seat, bench seat of a Lincoln Continental, you know, that long boat thing. And I'll never forget. I
totally see your family owning a Lincoln Continental, man.
Yeah, 100%. So all I remember is sitting in the front seat, no kid seat, no nothing, right? And buying a Big Red. And my brother and his buddy always got a Big Red. And dadgummit, it tastes the same. It's zero sugar, Big Red. If you want to get a little taste of nostalgia. Yeah, that's right. Go get you a Big Red Zero Sugar. And I got the last two. All they had was 2 liters. I got the last one. And so you're going to see me a lot. This is a very J rundown. The rundown I had for last week was more my style. There was like 4 bullet points. This has 17 pages. So there's going to be a lot of J on this. And I'm going to sit back and listen to him talk about the races and just drink some 1980s Big Red.
So basically what you're saying is the original Big Red tastes just as bad as the zero sugar.
First off, you watch your mouth.
I am. That's why I don't drink Big Red.
I'm sure Jenny Lee, my wife, goes, does it have Red 40 in it? I said, I'm sure it has all kinds of crap in it. You're not supposed to drink it. Dadgummit, it's so good.
The funny thing was you held your cup up, and I thought, you were like, man, I've got good news. And I was like, the cups are back at Rib Crib. Yes.
Oh, they're not. Yeah. The last time I was in there, they're not there. I'm really upset about that.
I don't think they've had them since the pandemic, have they?
No, I got this one just a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. About a month ago, maybe month and a half ago. But the last time I went in there, they were not back, and I was not real happy about it. Really, I mean, I love Rib Crib. First off, this is no unpaid sponsorships, but I love Rib Crib. But I like their cups a lot.
Although I love a place in town that nobody else seems to love barbecue-wise, and I just think it's because they Billy Sims, man.
What's
I really like their barbecue. Huh?
Billy Sims is gone now.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they shut down. I think the owners, everybody out there listening in radio land or podcast land or wherever you're listening, it's not from southeastern Oklahoma. It's going to have no idea what we're talking about.
That's a hard
it's a good barbecue spot. The owners were sick and had to shut down. So
dude, that Heisman lunch was worth its weight in gold.
Oh, I didn't know they had Mellow Yellow Zero Sugar.
Thanks, Diddy. Wow. I appreciate it. No, actually, I love Mellow Yellow, man.
I don't know that I've had a Mellow Yellow since Cole Trickle was driving the number 51 Mellow Yellow Chevrolet car. I'm not 100% sure I've had one since then. All right, Jay.
What car did Dick Trickle, the real driver, what did he drive? I forgot.
The Gonorrhea 200?
Whatever it was. I just remember Kenny Mayne and Dan Patrick on SportsCenter every week. NASCAR race this week, blah, blah, blah. There was a wreck here and there, and this guy won the race, and Dick Trickle came in 43rd.
I mean, you got to say it, right? Yeah. Oh, it's funny.
So, anyway.
Tons of motor. Is this the biggest weekend of motorsports of the year, Memorial Day?
I guess from a popularity contest, Yeah, I was watching the race with my good buddy Redbeard and of course Farmer and Chaz and the dog Basil. And while he was humping the couch, we got in a really good conversation that the only thing that could make it probably more popular would be as if the Daytona 500, Monaco, and Indy were on the same day. So we had Monaco, for all you people that aren't F1 fans, that's the Ironman 2 race. Then we had the Indianapolis 500. And then we had the Coca-Cola 600, which that is the biggest NASCAR race lengthwise, right?
It's the longest, yeah.
Yeah.
The longest distance.
It actually qualifies as an endurance race. It really does.
Just because of the length of it?
Time length, yes.
But you don't have to swap drivers, so
that's
does it really
true.
qualify?
Brings up a really good point that we can talk about on some other episode, though.
Okay.
How cool would driver swaps be in NASCAR?
Oh, good Lord.
Really
All
good
right.
topics.
Where are we going here? We're going to do Monaco first?
We are going to start out with Monaco, and, just if you're playing drinking games at home listening, just listen for every time I say the wall.
Okay, I'm on it. We're drinking. Everybody get your drinks.
That counts as one right there. So let's
raise
start.
your beer, your mellow yellow, 0 sugar, your big red 0 sugar, or whatever fruity thing Jay's drinking.
So Monaco is on the southern coast of France, which actually Monaco is now an independent country. It's the smallest circuit in Formula One. And to call it a street circuit is actually an understatement. These are probably the tightest streets you've ever seen in your life. Fastest lap, minute 11, give or take. Really decent elevation changes, probably the sharpest hairpin in all of Formula One. So I need to set that stage real quick. There's probably, how many chicanes in that thing, man? 3, 2? There's definitely 2.
There's definitely 2.
Maybe 3.
Depends.
Yeah, there's. No, it's not. It actually doesn't qualify. So
you kind of got
2.
that weird bend left, bend right, and then a chicane.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of talking about. But anyway, so in practice, Alex Albon put it in the wall.
Drink.
Kevin Magnussen also put it in the wall. And then Max Verstappen actually tagged the wall. And we'll get more into Verstappen later. Then in Q2, at the very end of Q2, Lando Norris put it directly into the wall.
Drink.
Which led to one of the coolest things ever, but we'll talk about it when we get to podiums and back markers.
Okay.
Then in Q3, and Chad, I know you watched Q3. It was probably, as The Rock would say, the most electrifying 10 minutes in sports entertainment.
It was the best part of the Monaco weekend.
So we get towards the end. They only got 10 minutes. Esteban Ocon turns in the fastest lap in an Alpine, not a top 4 car. Turns in the fastest lap. He's got provisional pole. Then immediately after that, Alonso sets one that I didn't think was going to be beatable. Of course, I'm an idiot. And Max Verstappen somehow goes faster after banging into the wall 3 times on his Q3 lap. And sets the fastest one by, I think it was 0.08 that he was faster than. So not much. I mean, we're literally splitting hairs here either. Although, Chad, I don't think you'll ever be able to split hairs. But
none.
Anyway, so yeah, Max Verstappen ends up on pole. And Chad, you got to watch the race from the beginning, correct?
I watched, as I said last week, the most boring race. It was probably a good race, honestly. I mean, parts of it were good. I watched up until the rain came. When the rain came and Verstappen had like a 28-second lead and he was screaming about needing inners, I was headed to church, man. That was kind of, I knew what was going to happen at that point. We knew what the top 3 was going to be. So
it's probably where we all should have been anyway.
Yeah, so you heathens.
I decided to go full, as my grandmother would have said, your dad blamed heathen. Yeah. ER in it.
Do the R in there. That's when you know things are getting serious. If she middle names you and call you a heathen, you're in trouble.
You heathens. Okay. So anyway, so tell me, Chad, in since you watched the beginning, I'll let you do the beginning of the race, and I'll kind of talk about everything else after the beginning.
Listen, me watching the beginning of the race is not going to be like you watching the middle of the race. Okay.
Okay.
Let's just go ahead and put that out there. I've got 4 kids. They're running around like crazy. They want me to explain things to them. They're saying red boil over and over and over. So I don't know. And here's my thing. You said it last week. Whoever leads turn 1, lap 1, turn 1, what is it? 90% chance win the race.
Yeah.
I thought exactly that. I thought when Alonso didn't get the same jump Verstappen got, didn't get the turn 1, at that point we knew it was over. Unless there was a catastrophic something, we knew it was over. At that point, I mean, I kind of started watching the back. I know Esteban Ocon had it seems like he had an issue. Something happened. I can't really remember. Something happened. He came out of the pits. He had to pit earlier than he wanted to, or something happened.
Actually, I think he set the tone for pitting, and I think he was dead on it. It looked like
wasn't he upset though? Like he was wanting to pit.
Yeah,
he was okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it, but it turned out to be serendipitous, really. So anyway, it was a good move. I think it's time that we say that, and you and I had this conversation, and I don't know what the Fuel Pod Nation wants to say about it, but Max Verstappen is no longer a Formula One driver. The rest of Red Bull is, Checo still is, and the other 18 drivers that drive not on Red Bull are Formula One drivers. Max Verstappen is not a Formula One driver. I don't know what we call that. Maybe we come up with a new version of what Formula One is for people that aren't mortal, So he still finished this race by, what was it? I think it was 27 seconds.
Yeah.
It was something
ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
It's half a lap almost.
He could have pitted 2 laps in a row and nobody would have caught him. That's insane by itself. And here's the thing. Alonso did great. He came in second as far as Formula One drivers go. He pitted right before the rain for a new set of dries, and then it starts raining, and they pull him in on the very next lap. Now, here's the thing. If he'd have just pitted that one time and went ahead and got inners, he would have been in the front of that race.
Okay.
And as we've said a million times, whoever's in the front of that race when it ends, I mean, you can say that about any race, but I don't think Verstappen would have passed him.
You really don't think Verstappen could have passed him?
I don't think.
I know it's tough. I know it's tough at Monaco.
There's only 2 places you can pass people. You can pass them in the hairpin after Mirabeau, or you can pass them in the swimming pool turn coming out of the tunnel. So you can do either one of those places. You really don't see people pass at Saint-Devat, although we did see somebody do it this weekend, which that in and of itself was insane. Yeah.
Past Stroll, maybe? No, past Sargent.
Yeah,
past Sargent.
Yeah, because Sargent was holding up the entire field. So one thing, and I don't want to get into too much Ocon territory because I've got some stuff I want to talk about in my podiums, but kept his head all day, and you and I both know just throughout being Formula One fans and Drive to Survive and racing it virtually even, that Ocon is an elbows out driver.
We ought to drink every time you say elbows out.
Yeah. Darn it.
Get your Viking horn out.
Yeah. Anyway, so he kept his head. He held his place. Buxton said it best, just echoing the Chad Hitchcock sentiment that Max qualified on pole. Alonso was second. Ocon was third. And then when we finished the race, Max was first. Alonso was second. Ocon was third. So Yuki was great right up until the rain. And then he started yelling at his pit crew, kind of old school Yuki Tsunoda. And slid out at Mirabeau and just kind of had to turn around and wait for all the traffic to pass before he could get back on the track. Stroll and Magnussen were DNFs and didn't finish.
Stroll kind of put it in the wall right there on the hairpin, right?
The wall.
Oh, crap. What
did.
happened there?
I don't know. He was having a bad day all day. Well, he had some contact early, and I can't remember who hit him.
He just seemed like he was all day long.
Yeah, and he just had he had a crappy day without the temper Checo had. Checo also had a terrible day, but he had a temper and acted like a kid. But we'll talk about that later, too. I thought Mercedes was stronger than they're going to lead you to believe. Anytime Hamilton is griping, then Mercedes is doing well. Now, he was talking about his tires not doing. He was talking about not being able to drive the car, but he turned in some stellar laps, man. And I think they should be proud of what they did accomplish at Monaco this weekend. Ferrari was Ferrari. You had Carlos Sainz yelling, and he was 100% right, but it doesn't change the fact that he hogged up the team comms for a long time, with Leclerc having his own struggles. Car was great. They just, I don't know what to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Julian Palmer talked about the 10 laps we had with rain and how it changed the whole face of that race, and it did, except for the front three. So all in all, it was a good race. I think every team can come out of it, with the exception of Williams, with some solid takeaways moving into Spain. So, Chad, we do have Barcelona next weekend.
Which I love.
I think you like that track. Yeah,
I do.
thought so. I didn't used to, but it's growing on me.
I like that track a lot. I've always liked it.
Well, we're going to cover that a little bit when we get into Rip from the Paddock. Let's go ahead and move into the Indy 500, man.
That's going to be great, and I'm really excited to hear about it because I didn't get to watch any of it. I really like IndyCar, but it's Memorial Day weekend. I was with the family all weekend, so I didn't get to watch but about 3 laps of the entire thing.
Okay. Did you get to watch any of the highlights?
Very few.
Okay. I don't know if Benny wants to go ahead and pop in.
Oh, we can pop Benny in.
Yeah, I know he already watched some of the highlights too.
Benny's shaking his head. Benny, do you want to be in here, Benny in the streets?
I think he's on. Is he on mute?
Are you on mute?
Nope, I'm in. What's
up?
up?
Okay, sweet. So, Indianapolis 500, considered the most popular race in the entire world. Also, one of the oldest, if not the oldest.
I just got Benny's text. I said, "Don't bring me in. I didn't get to watch any of it."
Yeah, but he's a race fan. Anybody can talk about, especially American racing, man. And it doesn't get any more Americana than the Indianapolis 500, even though you still can't pronounce most of the names.
That's true.
You got Elio Castroneves and Pagenaud and those guys, but here we are. So the lady, Catherine Legg, she put it in the wall on the pit lane. So definite drink on that.
We're drinking every time we say the wall because it's been about 700 times tonight.
Yeah. So anyway, Tony Kanaan, the old bird out there racing. This is his last Indy 500, and said he felt like a kid again out there racing Elio like it was their first one. On lap 91, and this is a 200 lap race, Chad.
Hey, I actually did see this because the announcer said it's the world's fastest lawnmower.
Yeah. It's, and I think it'll forever be, and I'm not coining this, the announcer did, the pass in the grass, 203 miles an hour on slicks through the grass, and that car did not waver. No. I don't know if you've ever been on grass going pretty fast, but the car's going to move a little bit.
That was pretty amazing.
So he held it together, came back in front of the guy who was trying. I don't even remember who he was trying to pass because at that point it was like, does it even matter? I mean, that move was a rock star move.
He'll remember that for the rest of his life, and he's won a bunch of things.
So then we got a guy named, and this is his real name, Stingray Robb. Puts it in the wall on lap 92.
Buckeye, I've got a bunch of little kids. How do we miss on Stingray? How'd you not name one of your kids Stingray, Ben?
I don't know, man.
It's
although we can't talk about. We got to talk about how Joseph Newgarden's son's name is Coda. So, which I think
his name
hilarious.
is Coda, like as in Circuit of the America. Coda,
like as in Circuit of the Americas. Yes.
Wow.
So anyway,
it's kind of cool.
Then we've got green flag pit stops, and Rinus VeeKay, who had done well all weekend. I think he qualified pole, didn't he? Yeah, he was on the pole.
Yeah, VeeKay.
He's coming out of his pit box, gets squirrely coming out of his pit box. Of course, there's 72,000 cars coming out of pit lane. And gets squirrely on the rear end, gets loose, and rams Palou into the wall.
Don't say it. I don't have anything else to drink.
Just do what the celebrities do on TV shows and just drink the empty cup.
That's what I did.
Anyway, so he puts Palou in the wall. They both recovered, but and we can talk about Palou later because what he did after that was amazing, but it's overshadowed by everything else that happened. Rinus VeeKay really was never back in it. Christian Lundgaard almost killed a pit crew member entering the pit lane.
Yeah, what happened here?
Okay, so there's a pit crew member sitting on a stack of tires, waiting for the cars to come in. And Lundgaard goes full send and nails the tires that guy was sitting on.
Yeah.
Pull that highlight up because it's hilarious. And that guy just pops right up really fast.
Hey, you guys talk while I pull this highlight up.
Yeah, so I thought he was going to kill the guy, but anyway, he didn't. So he got back out there. Then our old buddy Chad from seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Drive to Survive, Romain Grosjean, the man that walked through fire, puts it in the wall, old school F1 style, on lap 150. Channeled his F1 days and went into the wall there. So
what happened?
He was all by
did he
himself.
just get it loose or what?
He was. That's why I said he was channeling his F1 days, but he was just going, and then all of a sudden he was not. There was nobody around him for probably 100 meters either side of him.
That's too funny.
So anyway, then we're moving towards the crunch time on the race, lap 184. Rosenquist, who was my outlier, he was in my 4th position outlier for.
I like him a lot.
I do too.
Had a good day. He ran good most of the day.
Ran great right up until he spun out.
What's cool about him, Benny, I don't know if you know, he doesn't have a contract for next year.
I did not.
Yeah, he does not have a contract for next year. So
he
just kind of said he was just whatever happens. I love Joseph Newgarden, but I was hoping for he would do really well. So it's pretty cool. He had a good weekend.
Yeah.
Rosenquist spins out, hits the wall, breaks his steering arm. So he has no steering. At this point, you can't blame anything that happens on him. He cannot. You can see the 2 front tires won't do anything. They're not moving at all. Spins around, gets turned around backwards. Kirkwood coming through, which I was pleasantly okay with. Not a big Kirkwood fan. Nails Rosenquist. Gets full on MiG-28 inverted. And so when they did the replay, it was just complete luck that his camera got knocked, because when they're showing the replay from the cockpit, the camera gets knocked and spun around so it's facing him while he's inverted on the pavement. And this guy's sitting there calm as a Hindu cow, pulls his visor up on his helmet. Sparks, just sparks shooting straight over his left shoulder. Chad's still trying to think about that idiom I just made.
Yeah, the Hindu cow.
Hindu cows have nothing to worry about. They'll never be slaughtered.
I get it. I get the whole thing, but
so sparks are flying over his left shoulder right beside his face, and he flips his visor up and just sits there wide-eyed watching the sparks inverted on the tarmac, man.
So I was looking this up. Who was that?
Kirkwood.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the big. This is the good wreck. Yeah. Okay.
And then he's got a wheel that comes off, which we're also going to discuss at length a little bit later.
Good Lord, that was insane.
That's close, man.
Everybody
could have been real bad.
Telling Chad this, but everybody we were watching it with, we could have cared less about the drivers, which is terrible, by the way. We're like, follow the tire.
Yeah.
Telling the cameras to follow the tire. So really cool piece of wreckage that happened there. Then Award, guys, we're all decent ages at this point, Gen X's and Zennials and whatever you want to call whatever, but Pato Award is a young kid who had a shot at absolutely winning the Indianapolis 500. Flashback to last year, he was the guy that Ericsson beat to the checkers for his win last year.
Yep.
Had an absolute shot at it. Screwed up, tried to do something stupid, got loose, put it in the wall, and
he did it again.
Ruined his race. Absolutely ruined his race. I don't know. I just put I'm young and stupid. That's what I put as the reason for this. This was on lap 192.
So
almost 8 laps left.
Yeah, you're 8 to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What spot was he running in?
3rd.
Oh, that hurts a little.
Stupid. I think he had Ferrucci in front of him. Maybe Newgarden, but Newgarden was there. So it was Ericsson, Newgarden, Ferrucci, and Award. Award was just made the move to get 3rd and then wrecked.
Oh.
So we'll talk about that a little bit later, because when we do Ripped from the Paddock, which is our special edition tonight because we're including IndyCar in it,
okay.
They do an immediate flash to Zach Brown, who just a half an hour earlier had been interviewed talking about how well the Aero McLaren cars were doing. And they were. They did it. They had a great day.
They did. They had a really good day.
Yeah, and they had a shot at the victory with Pato Award, and he blew it. So huge deal. at the end of it, he said they interviewed him, and he said it was all Ericsson's fault, and that he'll not forget this one. He hit Ericsson, by the way. Ericsson hit him.
Why did he think? Why is he blaming Ericsson?
And it was a love tap at best. So,
Well, you got to blame somebody. I mean, you just
Yeah.
blew the biggest race of the
Yeah,
year,
I guess
the
that's
biggest
true.
moment of your career. You're not going to look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Gosh, I really
That's
screwed
my
that one
fault.
up."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with
I'm
you.
gonna tell you right now,
Yeah.
man. Like him or hate him, Chad. As far as Zach Brown, you know he's gonna put a ward in the room and go, "Hey, just stop. You lost that race."
Yeah, that's true. He will, and I don't like him, but he will.
Yeah, that's exactly what he'll do. Yeah. So, and he did. So we had a restart, and then we had 3 in the wall on the restart. We hadn't even done 20 feet.
Jeez.
So
Yeah,
then we
they
get red
make it
flagged
turn on.
again. And this is where we start getting into technicalities and rules. Ericsson obviously thought the race should finish under caution. Of course, he was winning.
Yeah, you're in
Of
the
course,
lead.
yeah.
And Newgarden obviously wanted a green flag, which is what they got. They should. Here's the thing: the rule is that after a red flag, they get a formation lap to warm the tires up, and then they go green.
Okay.
In this instance, they did not get a full lap. They followed the safety car out, but as soon as he got to the release line, he let him go instead of doing one more lap for the tire warming. So they're on cold
Did you hear
tires.
any explanation behind that?
No, other than that they just wanted to give the fans a green
Good
flag
show.
race. And I
Is
get that, man.
Does FIA run IndyCar?
No,
They don't, right?
FIA does not run IndyCar. And this is a good argument for why, for the FIA, even though I can't stand the FIA half the time, sometimes they get it right. And this is one of those things. But
Gotcha.
anyway, so let's talk about the last lap. So you got Ericsson pulling crazy Ivans like he did last year, just up and down the track on the front stretch, and then he's got him in the turn. Then he tries to do a crazy Ivan again, but this time Newgarden gets on his inside and won't let him cut back up the track, and he's got a run on him, and he passes him. Then Newgarden does the crazy Ivan, and if I was Ericsson, I would.
I mean, he was dang near on pit road.
Yeah, he was on pit road. He had already crossed the apron. If this was a NASCAR race, he'd have been in trouble.
Yep. They said they weren't. I mean, I heard, they said they weren't going to enforce that line at all.
No,
Yeah.
not in the Indy. No.
It's very
No.
weird though that you have to do that. You have to break that toe like that. Just going back and forth, just trying to break the draft.
Yeah, and here's the part you don't know if you didn't really watch it. Chip Ganassi told Ericsson before the race, if you make this 2 in a row, I'm going to kick in an extra $425,000.
Oh, that hurts.
So that is killer. And and if you were watching race 2, you'd have known in the last 5 laps, the only people they really showed were the wives. They showed Ericsson's wife, and then they would flash to the smoke show that is Joseph Newgarden's wife. So, she's crying because she knows here's Newgarden, who's won 2 Indy 500 or 2 Indy Series Cups, right? It's kind of like Earnhardt Sr. with the Daytona 500. Never winning the big dance, right? So here's Newgarden.
Turns out better for Newgarden,
right? And he's never won the big one. It's a Dan Marino story if I've ever heard one. But anyway, so he wins it. And I was happy for him. I had picked him in my top 3 for the day. I know you did.
Yep.
I wanted to see Ericsson win 2 in a row. I thought that would be cool.
I like seeing the new guy win. I mean, not the new guy, but somebody that had never won it before.
Yeah. Well, my thing was, here's a guy. You look at Grosjean and Ericsson both, and you see 2, and I say this with the utmost respect, but you see 2 failed F1 drivers that have found a home in IndyCar.
Yeah, for sure.
And have found a fan base that normally wouldn't have loved them, loves them.
Yeah.
Marcus Ericsson lives in Indianapolis.
That's cool.
With his wife and kids, or I think he's got 1 kid, but
so
they love him to death. So I think that's cool, man. And I'm happy for Joseph. I am. I'm happy to see Roger Penske win his 19th, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
So
now he wins the 600, the next day,
So now that we finished the race, can we talk about Newgarden's celebration? Was that the best celebration in motorsports?
There were so many different aspects of that were
pretty
great.
good.
One broke his ring.
Yes.
Did you see him? He broke his ring.
Yeah, I
Like
saw
his-
that.
like what
saw the
ring?
replay of that.
They give you a championship ring for winning
like
the
a-
Indianapolis
it's like a
500.
He
Indy-
broke
it's like
it?
Indy, Yeah.
And he was getting down on his knees for the bricks, and he cracked it on the thing. And then you see him later talking to Penske wife, and she looks like she's recommending a jeweler. Like the face
That's
fell
too
off the
funny.
ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
thought
but
that was
yeah,
a pretty cool
dude,
celebration to go up there and cheer with the fans and be one with the people that are right there. I thought that was a really, really cool
Yeah.
scene. Is it the smartest thing in the world? Probably not, but dadgummit, I mean, it was awesome. I would have loved to have been a part of that.
It's
Who
old
was the-
school,
who-
man. I mean,
Who
that's
was the NASCAR guy that used to do that?
Well, I mean, what's his
Blaney
name?
did it. Blaney
Well,
did it
Blaney
Monday.
did it after because of their
Yeah.
same team.
Yeah.
But there used to be somebody. I mean, Kyle Busch always goes up and gets the
Gets
flag.
the flag and bows.
Um,
yeah.
Who
Carl
did the
Edwards.
backflips? Was that
Carl
Carl
Edwards.
Edwards is backflips. Yeah.
Somebody used to grab the flag and do the backwards lap.
Tony Stewart. Yeah.
And he did that.
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember anybody going up the stands like that. I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, his agent was like, "Dude, what are you? What
Don't
are you-
ever do that. I'm sure his wife
no,
was like, "Do
what are
not
you doing?"
ever do that
Yeah.
again."
I'm sure his wife was like, "How am I not the first person you come to?"
Well, I mean, you know, in that moment, you just go
Yeah.
Oh,
celebrate.
yeah. You're just.
You're not
yeah.
thinking about anything else.
Yeah, he was happy as a lark. I've never seen somebody so happy. It was
It was pretty
was
cool, man.
insane.
Pretty cool.
It was a great race. And then of course the Coca-Cola 600 gets
So give me
Gets
just a second. I'm
rained
gonna
out.
go get a drink while you guys talk NASCAR. I'm gonna get a drink real quick. I'll be right back. Okay.
okay. Can we keep
You guys-
going?
Yes, keep going. Of course, you guys know a lot more about NASCAR than I do.
Okay. So Coca-Cola 600 gets rained out.
Yep.
I end up at Applebee's the next night for half price apps and NASCAR special place. And they're playing the Coca-Cola 600. You probably watched the whole race. I only got to watch about an hour.
Yeah.
And man, these are in no particular order, but I that's the reason I reached out to you this week is I was kind of hoping to get your take on some of these. And like
Yeah.
I said, these are not in order, but you know, you already alluded to it. Roger Penske wins the Indy
Awesome.
500 and the 600 in the same weekend. It should have been the same day.
Yeah.
Which would have been a cooler
Would have
story.
been really cool to do it the same day, but I mean, do it in the same weekend. I mean, that you know, Coke 600 probably it's the third probably biggest NASCAR race behind Daytona and probably the night race at Bristol. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's a crown jewel for sure.
Yeah.
So to win the biggest race in IndyCar and probably, you know, let's say a top three in NASCAR track same day, same weekend is phenomenal. So
Well, I was telling Chad as an endurance racing fan, the Coca-Cola 600 is my Daytona 500.
yeah, it is, man. It's, you know, everybody talks about it. You know, I remember, it's several, 10, 15 years ago when they were, talking, really starting to work out, Jimmy Johnson really starting to work out and run.
Yeah.
And, drivers were starting to get into pretty good shape. And they were, I think it was Tony Stewart. It might have been Kevin Harvick. It was one of those two, but they did like a weight loss counter on them during the race. And I can remember like the broadcast, like, oh my gosh, he started at like, 170 and he's down to 162 now. He sweat that much, I mean, it's kind of cool to see. And you can see those drivers, even Blaney afterwards, man, he was just exhausted. I mean, you could tell he was just done.
Well, I know you haven't really gotten into the Formula One thing yet, but they do a race every year in Singapore and they have to do it at night. And even at night, it's like 115% humidity and it's about
Wow.
110 degrees.
Yeah.
And the drivers average 7 to 9 kilos lost in the race, which is like, I want to say 14 or 15 pounds in one race.
Crazy.
So yeah, you obviously think about things like that. And that's another thing I think that NASCAR needs to show is how, the fitness level on some of these, and some of them aren't, man. You look at people like Ryan Newman and you look at
Yeah.
some of the softer guys, but you look at people
Yeah.
like Carl Edwards and that dude was hard as a rock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson used to. There was a marathon there in Daytona the same weekend as Speed Weeks. He would run that and still run the race. I mean, Jimmy Johnson was kind of one of the pioneers of it. But like you said, Carl Edwards is in really good shape. Those guys. Kyle Busch is kind of pudgy still. Kurt Busch was. They're just kind of get by. But for the most part, everybody's pretty good shape. So
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see next year. Kyle Larson's going to do the double next year. So
yeah.
I'm
I'm actually going to
excited
talk
for
about that here in a minute. I was going to get your feedback on that, but
Yeah. So I mean,
yes.
you think about the endurance there. I mean, he's going to be in. They'll hype it up like they did when Tony Stewart did it. They'll have whoever his sponsor is for the week will have private helicopter and they'll land him in the infield. I mean, it'll be cool. But
I saw the picture with him and Jeff Gordon and somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but with his arm around him. So I'm guessing Jeff is back in that one a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we talked about this previously, but, Jeff was a huge proponent of bringing Kyle Larson to Hendrick Motorsports. I mean, Rick Hendrick even said it's pretty much Jeff's call, and he made the call. And he said, he grew up, saw Larson growing up, racing the Outlaws and everything else. And that was one of the conditions that Larson had when he came back. He said, I don't expect to do it right away because I need to get, familiar with my team and, whatever else. We got to find ride sponsors and everything. But that's something that's like a make or break for me. So Rick Hendrick was like, yeah, of course,
From what I understand, he's running for Arrow McLaren, who they're famous for taking in wayward children. Fernando Alonso, my favorite Formula One driver, has done the Indy 500 thing with McLaren twice. Both of them have been just spectacular failures, but he's still done it twice, and both times were with Arrow McLaren. Zach Brown, Chad hates this guy, but Zach Brown is from Indianapolis, and he runs the McLaren F1 team, and then also manages the IndyCar team. So I'm sure him and Larson are probably talking quite a bit at this point already.
Well, it was interesting too because Kyle Busch has been saying that he's going to do it forever. He's wanted to do it. And they asked him about it after the 600, and he's like, yeah, I lost my ride. And they were like, what? He's, yeah, I'd had a deal and I had a ride worked out and it went to Larson. He's like, they didn't call me until after it was a done deal. And so he said, it's just, we never really could get a sponsor tracked down. And so,
hey, so speaking of that, why is it so hard for one of the winningest drivers in NASCAR history to find a sponsor?
Because nobody, you see the finger on the forehead, Chad? Nobody.
I mean, I get it. Nobody likes
track with Kyle Busch at the Indy 500.
No, I think it's just such a one-off. You look at some of those bigger teams; they're not going to set one of their drivers just so Kyle Busch can come over and do that. So it's going to be a smaller team. That's not going to get a whole lot of notoriety. I mean, even Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson had had Ally on him for a little while, but I mean he is the winningest driver in NASCAR almost, and has still had trouble tracking down sponsors for certain races. So I think it's just a different crowd, a different market.
I think Busch would fit in with AJ Foyt. I don't know if they get along or not, but AJ Foyt's team's kind of an outlaw, wayward children style team.
I mean, whether you love him or hate him, I think Kyle Busch has enough talent to be okay.
He does. I mean, I think he just shows up. I mean, he needs a couple test runs, simulator, and I think you just put him in the car.
Yeah,
I know. After watching Blaney this weekend, I'm pretty sure that guy could handle it anywhere.
Yeah, man, he had a fast car all day.
So composed, man. It just absolutely so composed.
He's another one I really like a lot.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about was, of course, we had Larson, Logano, Gibbs on the spin with 26 to go.
Yeah, that's all on Larson too, man. I mean, he owned it. He come up the racetrack and just, snapped loose. It was right on the restart, and I think that really probably was the difference in Blaney and William Byron was that restart, because Larson was on the outside with William Byron, shoved him off into turn 1 and 2. He had almost cleared him, and then Larson spins, and Blaney fought back on the bottom, ended up getting at the timing line. So then the following restart with 17, 18 to go, whatever it was, Blaney gets his choice. He goes to the high side, and there's just that lower line. Byron just couldn't make it work. So
yeah, and then we had Reddick. He slipped loose, goes through the grass, crossed the apron, back on the track, didn't lose his spot. And I'm pretty sure at the time that was Blaney, Harvick, Reddick.
I think that's right.
When
he
that
spun
happened.
there.
Yeah. And that was insane too. That was almost as good as TK's pass in the grass at the Indy 500. I mean, he went completely through the turf.
Yeah.
Came back up in the line.
Turned right, and here he was.
So then the other one, and you brought this one up, so I'll let you get through this one. But the Amarola Wallace.
Oh, our boy Bubba. our boy Bubba. I mean,
Dude cannot just get out of his own way,
he
man.
can't, and it's terrible. I mean, you just can't do it. And what I thought was interesting, Eric Almirola is known as a pretty laid back, easygoing guy.
Yeah.
And Almirola side of the story was that he was cursing at me and he was yelling. He said obscenities. He said he was cursing at me and he was yelling obscenities at me. And he goes, first of all, you're not going to yell at me, and then second of all, you're not going to call me the names and say the things that you said to me and me not do anything about it. And so that's Almirola. And then they, of course, asked Bubba, and Bubba turns around, looks at the scoreboard. Oh yeah, we finished 4th today, didn't we? I wouldn't even address it. I mean, I'm so sick of Bubba Wallace, man.
It'd be different if he was winning a bunch.
Exactly.
He's won one race, man.
Or if he was running
race.
up front weekly and he's always in the conversation and just, I mean, at what point are they going to cut ties with this guy?
Well,
I
here's
don't
the
know.
point. You just said it. He's not running 30-40, dude. He's running for a long time in the race. He's running, what, 5 to 15, maybe higher? Yeah. So he's always going to be in the conversation. And this is my point with Bubba Wallace. Take everything else out. Take the politics and the the social inequality stuff out of it. He's got talent. He doesn't have finishing talent right now because he keeps getting in his own way. But
yeah,
I mean, does he need to change his scenery? Is this a
no?
Kyle
He needs
Busch?
a shovel to push that freaking chip off his shoulder.
I don't. He's
Yeah,
not
but I mean,
gonna
is
get
that
in a
what-
better situation than he's in right now.
Well, what I mean
he's
is,
driving for Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. I mean, he doesn't have any more too big supporters than that.
I know, but I mean, what I mean is almost getting knocked down a peg, not going somewhere for a better situation, but going somewhere because you get fired, and you got to go somewhere else, and you catch on, wherever you catch on, and maybe show some progress.
Track house guys, like Kyle Busch,
be a little bit more humble, and
Kurt Busch when he got busted down there and had.
I mean, I think it worked for Kurt Busch, honestly.
Yeah.
He was a better racer.
Then he comes back for Stuart Haas, and
he's a better racer
after that. Yeah.
I think it worked for a lot of guys, and maybe on a lower key. But you look at Tony Stewart. You try to think back when Tony Stewart first came in the league.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I know. I
just remember him. I remember him hitting a journalist or a reporter. I remember getting in some fights, but I don't really remember him as a rookie, which is funny.
So think Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano had an evil devil baby, right?
I remember him
Tony
being
Stewart's rookie year.
Hell on wheels, man.
Yep.
He was awful. Unlike Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon's big knock from the old guys in the paddock was he didn't know anything about cars. All he knows how to do is drive. Well, guess what?
That's right.
That's all you need to know how to do.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon was actually probably closer to the Tom Cruise Days of Thunder than anybody else.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Rick Hendrick had such a big role in that movie anyway. He said that, but
So Tony
Jeff Gordon was
Stewart
from Indiana instead of California. You're right. There's so many parallels.
Absolutely. Tony Stewart, though, man, he was hell on wheels that first couple of years he was in, and you saw as he just got older and wiser, and he still can get fired up. I've seen him getting fired up in his new racing series quite a bit at some guys for doing stupid stuff, but that's where Bubba Wallace he got broke. Tony Stewart got broke. Joe Gibbs broke Tony Stewart. Put a saddle on him and said, "Hey, this is where we're at." And you'd still see shots of Tony come out every now and then. The real smoke come out every now and then. But for the most part,
winning.
he was winning.
He was winning. I mean, the summer, from the end of May, through July. I mean, he might win 6 races. He might win 6 in 8 weeks or something. I mean, he would go on these tears, man, and it would just like he was just driving by himself.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Absolutely, just an absolute legend. But the other thing we got to cover before we just cover the win in general, but Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin. So I've watched this now 11 times. I counted them, and I am absolutely blaming this on Chase Elliott.
Yeah, no, it's not even close. It's really not. Denny
he turned into him, man.
He did, absolutely, he did. And Denny going, bonkers about it. That's Denny. he's going to cry and whine and be as loud as he possibly can. But this one, he did have a legitimate argument. And if you see the in-cam footage of Denny, I mean, dude, he was rattling in there. He was, 190, 193, something like that whenever he was hooked and turned. I mean, it was pretty violent in there. So, I mean, he's got a right to be mad.
Yeah. I saw a little bit of it, and I only saw it one time. And to me, it looked like it was a little bit of racing. But again, I only saw it once. It looked like Denny ran him up the track.
Denny ran him up. Chase bounced off the wall, hits Denny, bounces back into the wall, and then when he comes off that wall, I mean, it's just dead left turn.
You could see him turn directly into it.
Yeah.
He had already straightened back out. You're kind of screwed at that point.
He was just done with it, huh?
Yeah. And I don't think Chase was, maliciously trying to hook him. I think he probably thought he was a little higher up on him than what he was, but nevertheless, I mean, you can't do it. I mean, NASCAR, they gave him one race, suspended him for one race, which, it's really
they actually did.
They did. Yeah. Yeah. They suspended him for a race.
Yeah. And I responded to a text from Benny when he was like, hey, they suspended Chase for a race. And I'm like, well, you can't just wreck Sir Denny of the Hamlin and get away with it.
Sir Denny of the Hamlin.
And what I meant by that is, Denny's no longer just a driver. Denny's got skin in the game because he's an owner. And anytime you have a driver owner, you've seen those guys over the years that have become driver owners, and they get treated. The rules get bent for those guys quite a bit.
Yeah,
because they're bringing money.
Yeah. Yeah, they went from being a contract employee to someone that's actually actively bringing money into the sport.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're moving on to Rip from the Paddock. I hate to move us on here, but we only got about 10 minutes left in the show,
It's fine, man. So Rip from the Paddock, obviously, if this is your first time listening to the show, this is where we take headlines, usually from Formula One, and we give you the headline of the article, but we don't actually read the articles. We're just taking a stab in the dark at what they're trying to say. So this week's a special edition because I'm including IndyCar, and he's ducked out. So we're going to do F1 and IndyCar. So the first one is why Ocon's Monaco podium was more impressive than his victory at Hungary. Chad, I can give this one a little bit of background. So obviously Ocon's only win is at Hungary. And his podium this week was for third place at Monaco. Do you want me to go first?
No, I will.
Go ahead.
First off, you're saying why this is the headline, why Ocon's Monaco podium was more impressive than his victory at Hungary.
Yes.
I don't know what happened in his victory at Hungary. I don't know. So here's what I'm going to say. The reason this is more impressive, and you can tell me I'm wrong, okay? Because I don't know what happened.
I really can't since I haven't read the article.
Well, I don't know how he won in Hungary.
Okay.
So I think it's more impressive because he qualified well. He didn't take advantage of somebody having an issue in front of him. There was no wreck in front of him. There was no engine problem in front of him. There was nothing. He qualified well. He held his position at one of the toughest tracks. I mean, get me wrong. It's hard to lose your spot there without a mechanical issue, but he held it all day long. He didn't lose anything. He didn't gain anything. So I get it. I mean, there's a tougher race than, and I don't know what happened at Hungary. How did he win at Hungary? Do you know?
First off, I just want to say, Chad, we are right here, man, because I didn't know which way you were going to go with your statement.
Okay.
And you've absolutely stole my answer.
Well, there you go.
So at Hungary, there was rain, there was a wreck, and a lot of the big wigs were out of the race.
There you go.
So there's no asterisk on his third place at Monaco. He stayed in with it's Rudy. You're 5 foot nothing. You weigh 100 and nothing. And you hung in there with the best players in the land for a whole season. And he hung in there with the best players in the land for a whole race.
On maybe the hardest track to drive.
On the hardest track in Formula One.
Yeah.
At least the one that'll fray your nerves to the edge of insanity.
Yeah, I mean it's if you ever watch a race here, just watching it. Now, get me wrong. I've said it, and I'll stand on the soapbox forever. I think the racing there is boring. But if you time trial and watch the qualifying or watch whatever, it is a difficult track. It's a difficult track to watch people drive. It's start, stop, turn. I mean, it's just tough, man.
I've told guys in my life and at work, that have asked me about it. I'm like, don't watch the race. Don't watch anything about. Don't watch any external footage. Go on YouTube and type in POV hot lap at Monaco. There'll be about 150 that pop up. Watch a POV hot lap at Monaco, and tell me at the end of it you're not going, good Lord, how are they doing that?
I don't know how they do it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know how they do it, man.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why. Next headline: how does Perez respond in Spain?
You can have this one.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Perez puts his car in the wall, turn one, super difficult, super hard, puts it right in the wall, pancakes the left side of his car.
How many times you gonna say the wall so we have to keep drinking?
Yeah. Anyway, so he's starting at the back of the grid. Then he gets all. I can't say that word. So he gets
You
all.
say whatever you want. I may or may not load it this week.
Okay, so he gets all pissy.
No, we can.
You could just tell he was. You could tell he was totally pissy for like the first 20 laps of that race because he knew he was out of it. He knew he wasn't going to improve his position. He was stuck behind the Logan Sargent slow train, and he nails the wall a couple more times in the race. He made contact with a couple of drivers. It looked like he was trying to purposely sabotage his Monaco so he could just go to the tavern. So how does he respond in Spain? Do your job. That's how you respond in Spain.
Yeah.
Do what you were hired to do, which unfortunately is defend Max. You gave Max 26 points, man.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much ended this thing unless there's some
gave up
mechanical issues.
You gave up your championship hopes unless Max gets sick or has
It's
some kind of
144, 105 right now.
That's almost, with the way Max is driving, that's almost an unrecoverable gap. So
And I get that Sergio's won a couple of races this year. I understand that. It's hard to look at what's going on right now. Oddly enough, and I was not in this camp at the beginning of the year. What?
I just saw your if you don't drink Big Red.
That's been up there the
Sorry.
entire time.
Wow, that's great.
So it's hard to look at the remaining schedule and find a flaw.
And Max,
Red Bull may win every race, and
You said Big
Max
Red may
may.
win.
I know I did say Big Red. Red
shoot.
Bull may win every race, and I think this was Alonso's chance to win a race. You know, you and Katie both thought they were going to get a win. Alonso's going to get a win, and he may still. But I think Red Bull may. I mean, he may win every stinking race, and that is insane to think about.
Haven't they so far?
Yes. It's
Let
3-2.
that set in for a second. How many races? 5 races in? They've won
Yeah,
every
it's
single
3.
one?
Max has won 3. Sergio's won 2.
Yeah.
And I would have never thought that before, but now I almost feel like even if Max has a bad week, they're not going to both have a bad week at the same time. I think they're 2 of the top 5 drivers. I mean, Max obviously on a different planet. Sergio's insane. It's just not. They're going to finish 1-2 in the points. It's just crazy what they're doing over there. Absolutely crazy. We can move on, man. I apologize. I got us off there a little bit.
No, it's a great topic. My other one, this is less a question posed, and this was one of the highlight or one of the articles, and I thought it was a good one to bring up. This is Fernando Alonso's home race, or at least it's classified as his home race.
He'll get on the podium.
And he'll be on the podium, but and my admiration for Fernando Alonso is well known. But I still don't think this track is zipping wide open. There's only a couple of trouble spots on this whole thing, and it's like turn 10, and that's it. And Max Verstappen is going to run away with this thing, barring any wreck or anything stupid in pre-race.
I mean, Max may win this thing by 25 seconds again.
This could be one of his biggest gaps next to Monza.
Yeah.
Spa's going to be bad.
Which, fortunately,
Max is not that great in rating.
Again, we've talked about it. I talked about it for a long time on one of our episodes that you just got to take a step back and watch the midfield. Watch the fun between, which really, I mean, right now it's between Ferrari and Alpine, right?
Yeah.
Because and Mercedes, I guess, a little bit in there because Aston Martin has to be 2, right, in the constructor.
Yeah.
I assume.
They
I
are.
need to look up. I
Might
know they
be
are. But
Mercedes, but I think it's Mercedes, dude, because they're getting both cars into points, and right now Alonso's last 2 races, he's been the only one into points.
let's see, constructor standings. While we're sitting here talking, it is Aston Martin by 1
Okay.
point. So
Good
it's
deal.
Red Bull 249, Aston Martin 120. Here's where it gets fun, though. Well, you know what? Aston Martin and Mercedes may be a fun thing to watch the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Because they're, I
I
mean,
think
1 point between those two, and really, I thought it was closer. I thought Alpine had gotten a few more points in there, but I guess not. Really, it's going to be
But still, they're
Aston Martin
coming
and
along.
Mercedes is going to fight for 2 and 3. Ferrari is 30 points back, and then it's a 60-point gap to Alpine. So really, you're talking about Aston Martin, Mercedes, Ferrari. That's going to be where you're watching the race right now.
Yeah, and there's a couple of races coming up that'll favor Alpine over Mercedes unless they change their car a lot.
And by the way, here, I mean, we both picked McLaren. I can't remember who we both picked 7, 8, 9. It seems like it was Haas, Williams, McLaren between the three of us. No, it was.
I picked McLaren at 9.
You picked AlphaTauri in there somewhere and Williams in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So McLaren's 6 at 17 points, Haas 8 points. I don't know if that's good, bad. I mean, that's not terrible. I still think they have a chance to get up in the 5. They're not going to get to 5. They might be able to get to 6th. Alfa Romeo sitting at 8 with 6 points. AlphaTauri's second at 9 with 2 points, and Williams with 1 point.
Yeah.
That was who was that 1 point? It had to be Alex Albon.
It was Alex
Williams.
Albon for Williams.
He got 10th somewhere.
And listen, man, I'll be happy if I'm wrong about McLaren.
I won't.
I think it's better for the sport if they do well.
And Katie and I talked about and you and I talked about it a couple of times. It's not that I hate McLaren, man. It's the way they handled Daniel Ricciardo. It was just wrong.
I know, dude. It rubbed you the wrong way, and you're one of those guys. You're one of those guys when you get rubbed the wrong way, you stay rubbed the wrong way for a while.
Eventually, if something happens and McLaren brings in a driver that I really like, I'll cheer for that driver.
Yeah,
and dadgummit,
I like Oscar Piastri, man.
I do too. I don't have anything wrong with Lando Norris.
He just seems to be one of those guys that just rolls with whatever's going, and I love that.
Yeah. All right.
But, he's Australian like Danny Rick. So next move, we're going to IndyCar.
Yep.
Roger
we only got about
Penske,
2.5 minutes.
Roger Penske, IndyCar investigating calls of loose wheel. And I've got one thing to say. Doesn't NASCAR use like some type of Kevlar polymer tether on their wheels to keep them from coming off the car?
I mean, the Indy cars use a tether. You can see it snap. I mean,
it snaps? That's what we got
to
to talk about.
You can go back and look at it. You can see the tether going.
I did not see
They
it.
definitely have tethers on them.
I didn't think they had them.
No, they have tethers ever since the Michigan race in the mid 2000s that killed 5 or 6 fans.
Yeah.
They definitely have tethers.
I remember that. Yeah.
But I don't know what happened, though. I want to talk about this next one. Is this Lewis Hamilton interested in an old school IndyCar test?
I was hoping you'd go, hey, I don't remember an IndyCar Hamilton guy. And I was going to go, that's because this is Lewis Hamilton.
Well, when I saw that, I mean, I immediately always think Lewis Hamilton if I see the name Hamilton or Josh Hamilton from the Texas Rangers. But
Chad, this is the first time I've seen an article that I've pulled for Rip from the Paddock that I almost clicked on to read. And I'm going to read it.
Cool. I'm going to
read it immediately after the show.
I was really hoping that you had already read it and cheated a little.
So here's my thing, and I don't know which way this article is going to go. So my one option is that he wants to do an old school test in the old F1 cars that look like that was back when IndyCar and F1, you almost couldn't tell the difference. And he loves those cars. I know you haven't, and I want to challenge you to do this, but I know you haven't.
Listen, I cheated.
There's a scene in the Fernando Alonso documentary on Amazon Prime Video. You're going to love it. You're going to fall in love with the talent level that Alonso has. But there's a scene in there where they put him in his old 2006 world champion Renault car and send him around Abu Dhabi. And Lewis Hamilton's in the middle of an interview. And he stops his interview and he goes, that sound, we'll never hear that sound. I love the sound of that car.
Oh,
and,
no. You and I sent you the TikTok of that. It's Lewis Hamilton's interview, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to listen to it."
Yeah, that's on that Alonso documentary. I just watched it last night again. But go back and watch that. But so I don't know what angle this is. Is it, hey, I want to do the old school cars, Or hey, I'm thinking about I'd like to run Indy.
I think he wants to run Indy.
I think
he wants
would.
to run Indy.
I think he would be an immediate value asset for IndyCar.
I think if you give him a good car, he could win Indy pretty easily.
I think if you give him any car in any series and give him a month, I think he's going to be. And I'm not the biggest Lewis Hamilton fan, but dude,
I'm becoming one.
The past couple of years, it's really sad that he's won me over more for not being a winner. That's how you know what a real winner is, man. I'm going to get choked up. That's
100%.
how you know what a real winner is, man. Is when they're down. When they're down. Yeah. Go with it. Sorry.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Your mouth wasn't moving, but sound was coming through. I apologize.
Oh, but yeah, he wins all those titles, and I could have cared less. And then, he's one of those guys. He just loves the sport, man, and he loves what he does. So I went back to the 2015 season on F1 TV, because you can go watch, what are they called? Archived races.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if he was winning like Max Verstappen was winning. And he wasn't. There was quite a few races when he did win, when he won by, 5 to 7 seconds, but not 30. And he lost quite a few races where he just came in second. But that was one of the things I was looking at. But then, looking at this article, and I definitely want to read it when we get off here. But, I'd love to see him race IndyCar. I think that would be great. I'd like to see this side of the pond get to experience his talent.
I agree. Okay. Did you guys already talk about Kyle Larson? Excited and nervous over Indy 500 debut next year?
We did. We already talked about it in the NASCAR, so he kind of bursted my bubble on that. So obviously Kyle Larson is running an Arrow McLaren car for the Indy 500, trying to pull the Tony Stewart off. Yeah, it was already taken care of.
I wonder if that's Rosenquist's car right there. I mean, is that the?
I don't know.
Can you have 4 cars in?
That was another thing. There was another article that I did read. Zach Brown is adding a 4th car to Arrow McLaren for next year.
Okay, so maybe that's going to be the one that. Oh, who is Alexander?
I don't think it's going to be Kyle Larson.
I don't know what that means, Mikey. What's Alexander mean? Okay, podiums and back markers.
All right, podiums and back. Chad, you're first, so kick it off, dude. Are we doing music?
Give me a second now. I gotta get the music on. We're gonna have to get this through really quick. Mine's very easy. Podiums, Max Verstappen, because he's just a robot. Joseph Newgarden and Ryan Blaney, all the winners this week.
Okay.
Go ahead and get yours, man.
My podium's Joseph Newgarden for winning his first Indy 500. Esteban Ocon for holding it together and doing it against the bigwigs, and the McLaren pit crew for not repairing but rebuilding a front left suspension, a front right suspension, and an aero package on the car in less than 15 minutes. That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive. All right, and I'm sorry we're hammering through these so fast, but it's just we're kind of running out of time. Back markers. Monaco. Is it Monaco's fault that Verstappen makes races boring? No. I just wish they would change this course a little bit to be just a little bit more fun.
Okay.
Car tire tethers. Clearly, they don't work. And number 3, Denny and Chase. You guys figure your crap out. I didn't realize there was that he got suspended. I think I'm leaning more towards Chase more than Denny, but I mean, God, figure your stuff out.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. Back markers for you, ma'am.
All right, Checo for being a baby back. Woo-hoo! And Pato Award for being a young kid with ridiculous talent that just threw away the Indy 500. And Cha-Ass Elliott for wrecking Denny Hamlin and putting him in the wall. Not a big Hamlin fan, but still, dude, like Chad just said, figure your crap out. And that's it. That's all I got.
Just figure it out, man. Just figure it out. Do we have any fuel pod news?
Rally Sardinia's this weekend for Rally. Make sure it's the big gravel hot race. It's a really cool race. In Europe for GT World Challenge, they're at Paul Ricard in France this weekend, which F1 has taken off the calendar. And at the COTA race for GT World Challenge America, Acura and Porsche cleaned house.
Awesome.
I'm
Follow
out.
us on Twitter and Twitch. I'm Chad H610,
I'm JNeil729 on everything.
and we will see you next week.
I heard the countdown for like a split second.
Yeah, I did that on purpose just to
Oh,
mess with
okay.
you a little bit.
I was like,
We got anything we want to
okay.
talk about on the after show here?
Yeah. Man, I don't. I thought that was
Post-race
a good episode. I liked having Benny on for the NASCAR piece. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't duck out for the rip from the paddock. Plus, I wanted to put him on the spot about doing a Drive to Survive episode review. I wanted to try to nail him down to at least one episode, but you know as well as you know as well as I do, and you know him better. But tell me something. What's going to happen after he watches the first episode?
He's gonna love it.
You think he's going to just binge it, or do you think it's going to be,
Yeah, I mean, I think if he
he's
can
probably
get
got a lot
over,
going on, but still.
I think if he can get over the non-American part, he's gonna binge it and love it.
I've never got that, man, with any, but not. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about just in general. I've never. To me, I've always wanted to learn who these people are, regardless of how to pronounce their name or if I'll ever be able to pronounce it. But he seems to be a greasehead as far as like with NASCAR. So it's one of those things that I think the first season does a really good job of introducing you to the cars and what the cars can and can't do. What the number one line that sticks out with me from the first season is Christian Horner in the very first episode when you got me to watch it. And he goes, these guys have to have an almost fighter pilot mentality to be able to succeed in this sport.
It's just such a good show.
Plus, I think you'll like Gunther.
I think he will too. I really, if he'll give it a chance, I think he'll love it.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm texting someone while we're talking.
Oh, it's fine.
Anyway, yeah, I think if he ever watches it, then he'll like it.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's just like anything, man. Getting somebody to sit down and watch something when they're not 100% sure is hard. And Benny's got 3 kids. He's in softball and baseball and everything else going on in life. And, it's just trying to sit down and watch a show is tough. It just is.
I think, though, with 20 minutes in, he'll be like,
Yeah, I think he'll like it. Because
Yeah.
he's a racing guy. I think he'll like it.
Well, let me
Just
ask you a
getting in
question.
there.
Was your brother ever really a racing guy before you
Nope.
got into it?
Nope.
That's your
I mean, a little bit
there.
of NASCAR. I mean, he and I went to a lot of NASCAR races together when we first, but once we really liked Sterling Marlin.
Yeah.
Once Sterling Marlin retired and was done, he kind of was done with it. Didn't really follow it at all anymore. I transitioned into being a Kyle Busch fan, and he kind of just transitioned out of it. Which his kids were kind of hitting that age where they weren't really into racing, and I didn't have any kids yet, so
Yeah.
and kind of split. He went into youth sports, and I didn't have anything to do, so I kind of stuck with it. Now I'm kind of in that thing where I'm in youth sports and a ton of stuff going on. It's hard for me to watch races and really dive in like I used to.
Yeah.
That's the one good thing. One thing I like about F1 for me is that when they're across the pond, they're early in the mornings.
Yes.
So it's easy for me to get a race in before church. We can kind of sit around. Jenny Lee goes and runs on Sunday mornings usually, and we can just sit around and watch TV. The boys and I and Elizabeth watch the race. So it does make it a little easier. It's a little harder to get the IndyCar race because it's in the middle of the afternoon. The kids are wanting to swim or play baseball or do whatever,
That's like with me, like I used to, man, NASCAR and IndyCar was like it. And then I had the 1 year I was in the military where I was at Fort Bragg and we didn't go to the field or didn't get deployed. And we went to 12 races. Me and 2 other guys, two other.
It'd be a lot of
lieutenants.
fun.
And we hit every single race that's around North Carolina, which if you're in North Carolina, man, I can't even tell you how many races. We had to skip some But,
Yeah.
like we went to Darlington, we went to Talladega, and we went to Bristol, and we went to Martinsville and Richmond and Charlotte and Daytona, and it was just insane. And then drove up because we were going up to something else, and we went to Pocono one year. And that was the year Dale Jarrett won the championship, which sucks because I'm not a big Dale Jarrett fan. But and then after that, I got into rally, and then it was one of those things that came around to Formula One eventually from rally, because they share a lot of people and they share a lot of technology. So it was a natural evolution, really.
Yep. I'm sitting here looking as we're sitting here talking about racing and doing different things. And doesn't IndyCar go to COTA?
Yeah, I thought so.
They are not on here. There's only 18 races. Yeah.
But they don't go to the same tracks every year, man. They're not like.
So they got St. Petersburg, Texas, Long Beach, Indy Grand Prix, Indy Road Course, Indy 500. I mean, 3 Indies in a row. Then Detroit, Road America, Mid-Ohio, Toronto. What is this one? Iowa Speedway, 2 in a row, I think. Iowa Speedway. And then Iowa Speedway again. They go to 2 Iowa Speedways back to back. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, then they go to, looks like Nashville again.
Yep, and Nashville. I don't know where Gallagher is. Gallagher is Indianapolis Motor Speedway again.
Yeah. Then Portland, which that should be good.
What is the
Monterey? That's in California.
What's the World Technology? Oh, Phoenix. No. Similar to I don't know where that's at. Where is the Bonarito Auto Group 500 Worldwide Technology Raceway? Is an intriguing 1 point. It doesn't say anything. What's funny is it has characteristics similar to New Hampshire and Phoenix, but it doesn't actually tell where it's at. It's kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, why are they going to Indy 4 times?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is based out of there. So.
5 times. They go to 5. No, that says Indy. That's Indy 200. 4 times. That's crazy. That's just a lot of times in one place. Anyway, I mean, that'd be kind of neat if you live there. Let's do 2022 while we're sitting here still talking. I mean, it looks like they go to Texas every year. See, they're not going to Alabama this year. Last year they went to the Grand Prix of Alabama. They're not doing that this year. Detroit Grand Prix, Road America, Mid-Ohio, Toronto. They did both of those. I don't see that on here either. I don't see COTA on here at all.
No, it's not. And I'm on IMSA's website right now. I don't know if you follow IMSA Racing.
No, what's IMSA?
IMSA is like GT, but not FIA governed.
Okay.
You would love IMSA, I think, because they do a lot of cool. They do Watkins Glen, they do Long Beach, Sebring, they do Daytona, Road Atlanta. Yeah.
I mean, they only have 17, 1, 2, 3, 4. They only have 17 races. Just not very many races.
Well, you look at WEC, dude, World Endurance Challenge. They've only got, I mean, it's ridiculous. I think they've got like 6 or 7 races. Yeah, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. They got 8 races, bro. And they've already done half of them. So 24-hour Le Mans is their next one. And then after that one, they only got 3 more. Monza, Fuji, and Bahrain. Dude, they got to do 8 hours at Bahrain.
Oh, it's so boring. That'd be terrible.
Yeah, 6 hours at Monza is going to be rough. So
yeah, 6 hours at Monza would at least be a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump off here, man.
All right, buddy. I'm going to probably get online.
I don't know if I'm going to get online, if I'm going to go crash. I may go watch another episode of Ted Lasso and crash.
Actually, I forgot my 14-year-old's here, so I'm probably going to hang out with him.
All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, man. Later.
Later, buddy.